Thursday, the 20th of August 2026. A pleasant good morning to you and a warm welcome to your breakfast show, Good Morning, Leone. The program that always starts today with analysis and divergent views on news and current happenings in the country. We are your presenters. I am Esther Sako.
And I am Emmanuel Samoa. Well, we start the program with a quote. The quote of the day is from a German philosopher, Mr. Eckhart, and it says, "The price of inaction is far greater than the cost of making a mistake." It says, "The price of inaction is far greater than the cost of making a mistake."
That's a food for thought for our esteemed viewers. Coming up in this section of the program, PBRC suspends APC leadership transition over court case.
Honorable Rollins Kamara raises concerns over expiration of APC executive tenure and proposed transitional governance arrangements.
And we bring you details of the International Youth Diplomacy Conference 2026, a major youth leadership and diplomacy gathering. On that note, that's how we invite you to participate in the program by sending your text message to the number displayed on your screen or send your comments on our Facebook page, SLBC. The program is Good Morning live on the Stereo Broadcasting
While the program you are watching is Good Morning Sierra live on the SLPC, we start the program with the headline story that has to do with politics, especially with the main opposition party, APC. The Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, has announced that the current executive members of the All People's Congress Party will continue to manage the affairs of the party pending determination of a court case challenging part of the Commission's directives on the tenure of the party's elected officials. The clarification was contained in a press statement issued by the PPRC on Monday, 17th August 2026, following earlier directives communicated to the APC on 13th February 2026. According to the Commission, it had exercised its constitutional and statutory mandate by extending the tenure of the APC executive for 6 months under Section 39(5) of the Political Parties Act 2022, Act number 25 of 2022. The PPRC consequently confirmed that the current APC executive members will remain responsible for running the affairs of the party while the legal proceedings continue. Well, in the studio, we have been joined by Senior Outreach Officer PPRC, Eugene Omo. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning, sir.
Good morning, SLBC, and good morning to viewers.
Eugene, when I saw that press release from PPRC, I was confused because earlier, as I mentioned, on February, you put out a press release giving certain directives, how things are supposed to happen. Now, those directives, they are no more. It's like you just thrown them out just like that. When other members of the party were expecting that those directives should be followed. What's the problem?
Well, as contained in the press release, the PPRC extend the lifespan of the APC executive to 6 months, and a reason behind that extension was the APC constitution, the March 7, 2022 constitution, do not properly address the issue of expired and tenure, because the constitution states that the lifespan of the executive is 3 years. So, and it did not properly address the issue of expiration of that tenure. So, against that backdrop, the commission decided to use the law, and before that directive, we received a complaint from the Honorable Leone Kamara. He stated that his concern was on the expiration of the executive, the lifespan of the executive. And then we had a hearing in a conference with Stawile, and we proposed a question to the Honorable, what do you think, what do you prefer? And for him, he said we need to have the party should have an interim body to manage the affairs of the APC. And in the APC constitution, it does not talk about forming an interim body to manage the affairs of the party. Neither does it state any further extension for the executive in an event the tenure expires. So again, we use Article 5 of the All People's Congress Constitution that talks about supremacy. And supremacy in its sense, it happens in twofold. It talks about it in twofold. The first is about supremacy to the members of the party, and also supremacy in the aspect of other statutory instruments that are above the All People's Congress Constitution. They are subject to those statutory instruments, and those statutory instruments are one, and the Constitution of Sierra Leone Act number 6 of 1991, and the PPRC Act number 25 of 2022. So again, we invoke section 39(5) of the PPRC Act that talks about a political party can extend its tenure in an event it expires not more than 6 months. So we extended the lifespan of the executive. And in that directive, it was divided into 2 limbs. The first limb talks about the extension of the All People's Congress executive to not more than 6 months. And again, the second limb of that directive talks about in an event the executive fails to take the party to the NDC, then the leadership of the party in parliament, together with 5 honorables representing each region across the country, will man the affairs of the party until the NDC. So we gave out that directives to the party. So fast forward to now, we received a motion from court. A member of the party, Mr. Suma, filed a motion in court in relation to the second directives of the PPRC that talks about the leadership of the party in parliament to manage affairs. For him, he said he is against that directive, and the party should not agree. So in that motion, the PPRC is the first respondent. The second respondent is the chairman, the commissioners, and the third respondent is the All People's Congress. So he took the PPRC and the APC to court in relation to the second directive. So, as indicated in the press release, a matter is in court, and we can't further give directive in relation to the second directive we gave in February. It talks about the leadership in parliament to manage the affairs of the party. And as you all know, people who know law will say it's a contempt of court. So for that reason, we can't decide on that matter yet until after the decision of the court. Then we can give a further directive in relation to the extension of the expiration of the executive. So in that light, the status quo remains the same. They will man the affairs of the party, and until the court decides. Again, the PPRC, although we are an independent institution, but again, our actions can be subjected or be tested in a competent court of jurisdiction, like the court, just like the member, the APC, Mr. Suma, did to take the PPRC to court. And we are not angry, or because we are okay with some of these critics, when it comes to our decision. And this is not only the case we have in court. There's also litigation in the area of the decision we took in relation to the All People's Congress lower level elections in Tonkolili. The matter is still. So we are not averse to court summons. And before now, we've had all the members of political parties taking the PPRC to court. For example, in 2023, after the elections, the Unity Party took the PPRC to court. So this is not a novelty, but again, we are happy because it's part of the democratic process. We are a member. If you feel aggrieved with the decision of the PPRC, then we can take the PPRC to court.
Before the PPRC gave out those directives, the PPRC did, let me say, consultations, whiteboard consultations with stakeholders of the party for you to come up with such a decision. We don't say that at the end of the day, someone will not just be take from the rules and software. I'll take the PPRC to court because you did this thing.
One of our key mantra, even though we have the law, that states our mandate or states our decisions or what should be a case in an event, certain circumstances happen. But again, one of our key mantra is consultation. We do consult with leadership of political parties, especially matters that has to do with the progress and growth of the party. And also in a case where there is a member who is aggrieved with the decision of the party, we also listen to those concerns or those complaints. So yes, if I can answer your question, yes, we do consultation before we issue out those directives to the party. But again, it's clear that not everybody can be happy with decision, especially when you're a regulator. Everybody wants a piece of you. We have lots of critics that will kind of decide or determine what should be the decision of the PPIC. So yes, we do have a consultation in relation to these directives we issued out in February.
So don't you see this as a breach of their own internal democracy? Because there have been concerns since this directive was put out with regards to the extension of the executive.
Well, I would say that, contrary to that, in fact, it promotes their internal democracy because their constitution did not state, like I said earlier, in an event the executive expired. What it states is for the executive to be dissolved, you have to complete the NDC. So, for example, the executive can just say, okay, let's get to the NDC before dissolving the executive. But again, as a related body, we can't sit and watch look at that quagmire. So we have to step in, and invoke Section 39(5) of the PPIC Act, because the PPIC Act is definitely above the People's Congress Constitution. So the Constitution is subject to the PPIC, so definitely we have to step in and invoke Section 39(5) to extend the lifespan of the executive. Again, that lifespan ended on the 18th. That's the reason why we put out the press release on the 17th to inform members and supporters of the party and also the public to inform that the matter is with the court now, and we have to wait until after the decision of the court before ever we can give a further directive in relation to the second limb directive.
Okay, continue to stay with us in the program is the Senior Outreach Officer for PPIC, Eugene Momo. Now, still on the same issue, meanwhile, an honorable executive member of the All People's Congress, APC, and aspirant for the position of National Deputy Chairman, Honorable Williams Kamara, has raised concern over expiration of APC executive tenure and proposed transitional governance arrangement. Williams Kamara is formally getting to the PPRC, raising concerns about the impending expiration of the current APC National Executive's extended tenure and the proposed governance arrangement expected to take effect thereafter. Well, in the studio for more on his recommendations, we have been joined this morning by Honorable Sirajin Williams Kamara. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you, and good morning, viewers out there.
Okay, so for our viewers to understand, would you put it into context, the letter you wrote to PPRC concerning the expiration of the APC's executive?
Thank you very much. It took me like 3 weeks to write that letter, and because I did a lot of research, and out of respect for the Commission PPRC, and I decided to write, you can read the tone. So like an appeal, a plea, not like a challenge. But at some point I also pointed that it has not been regular. So one of the things I said that as we understand the 6-month extension granted to the current APC executive expired on the 18th. Consequently, from that day, the tenure of the president comes to an end, and the executive can no longer continue to exercise authority by virtue of the expired mandate. Although many members were deeply uncomfortable with the extension, particularly because of concerns regarding its compatibility with the party's constitution, we nevertheless accepted in good faith, and more importantly, out of respect for the authority and intervention of the Commission. We did so also that the extension would provide a peaceful and orderly bridge to the next stage of the party's transition. And because that's sentence I guess is not being achieved, so that's why we are questioning the PPRC. For the simple reason that I wrote to the PPRC, tells you that I know they have the powers, they have the authority to do what they did, and therefore my recommendation moving forward for the next step, which has to do with not only members of parliament to take charge of the party because they have parliamentary duties, functions to perform. As you see, we have this constitutional amendment. I said, let us have like a harmonized team where we have other stakeholders of the party to form part with the members of parliament. But the PPRC's argument has been that they gave the present executive the mandate because we didn't have that in our constitution. So they have that.
So properly spelled out.
Yeah, but we said what we have in our constitution that the mandate of the national executive is 3 years, and the 3 years expired in February. So, of course, there is a provision that in the event and such issues, the PPRC will look at the PPRC Act and the National Constitution. That's how they came to give the 6 months. our argument is that if you have that mandate to give the expired national executive 6 months extension, I think it was prudent enough to have, even though we don't have it in the constitution, just like we don't have the extended time, to form an interim body. And we cited cases of in 2005, and where the president, because we have to, and also 2022, and the Afepita content the party. You know why I'm saying this? Because when the PPRC transformed from registration to regulatory, they have the powers of the High Court. So it was that respect we accorded them when they came up with that decision of giving them an extension. But for me, I said, why didn't we have a transition team? Because even when they came up with that, there were lots of cries all over. But we said, okay, this is our parents. We've gone to them for years, you know. And even Honorable Nami Kamara, Honorable Ambassador Nami Kamara followed that up and said, this is untenable. But they decided to, yes.
So, Honorable, in this piece of yours, this letter that you wrote, I will quote verbatim what you said.
Yes.
It is precisely for that reason that we now believe it is imperative that the next step be legally sound, constitutionally defensible, politically inclusive, and capable of commanding the confidence of the wider membership of the APC. Now, you are saying that they should take a decision that should be legally sound and constitutionally defensive. So is it that if this previous arrangement is not constitutionally, legally defensive and constitutionally sound?
No, well, if you read the whole context, I moved from that aspect of the decision the PPI is so ready to. I said it was not 100% and good for us, for some of us rather. But just like the ruling of the former vice president, some people are not happy, some were happy. I said, well, the same thing with the extension of the national executive. So actually, if in my letter was on the 7th August, and the expiry date was 18th, so like less than 2 weeks to the expiry date, my contention was moving forward to the next step of having the members of parliament take over the affairs of the party. And that is what they said they cannot go because of the court action. But what I expected the PPRC's should have read is that because of there is a court case on this matter, I think everything should stay stands instead of saying that the status quo continue like what we agreed the time we gave to the national executive to stay for 6 months since the matter is because so they can continue. They need not say that because now it has been responsible that the PPRC has given the national executive another extension. You know.
So Honorable, when you look at the PPRC's directives, is that 5 members of parliament, each representing a region. Is that not inclusive enough?
Not at all. Not at all.
So why do you say that?
Even if you have all the 50 plus MPs that MPs have in parliament, it is still not inclusive. Just a unit. It's just a unit of the party. And besides, the members of parliament were not elected to administer, to pretend the affairs of the party. You know, they have a mandate. They are in parliament, and we know this is a tense moment for them. This constitutional amendment, so they have so much on their plate. So to say they cannot take also the affairs of the party, I don't think it's also fair on them. But also it comes back to a point that just like the trust and sincerity that's lacking in the national executive that we are questioning, the same lenses have been turned to.
But the transition team that was formed by the courts, which they have Peter Conte led, you know, the MPs were there. The MPs were there.
But not only the
MPs. Not only the MPs, but the MPs were there. They formed, let me say, maybe the bulk of
what you see. They did not form.
They were there. So why do you say it will be a burden on them?
No. Well, again, I said if that president, in fact I said 2022, if the 2022 Afro-Peter Conte case serves as a precedent in this case, then we should have Honorable Nami Kamara nominate people to the transition team alongside the members of parliament. Look at my letter again. I mentioned that not that I'm averse to MPs being to take over that, but MPs alone. That means that just like the president of Afro-Peter Conte had 12 people, members of parliament, and that's from the 21-man transition team for the APC. So if that president was being followed, by the PPRC, which I think they took into cognizance. They should have got the balance in as well, make it holistic, because it was what the court gave. So you cannot just say a certain segment, especially when we know that most of these MPs are polarized. And so the same aspersion or doubt will be levied on them, you know, by various parties, by various people. So since the PPRC has started doing well, we said, okay, you cannot leave a vacuum. But what the letter they released on the 17th, and as much as we are not creating a vacuum, but they're also creating a room like unlimited acting capacity, which is unfair to the APC. For me, as a proud reformer, a proud member of the NRM, I really want to see wherein the laws, the fight we had over this year, be achieved in a very, very constructive way. You know, so what we now have is that giving power again to a small set of people. How can these people who want to continue to hold power at the next convention, want to still be chairman, want to be general secretary, organizing secretary, and their like, and you have them to conduct the affairs of the party when we still have issues about membership, election of district officers, and delegate to convention? So they will have to be determined that to their own advantage.
I want to understand this. Is it that you are suggesting or recommending its transition team rather than the extension of?
Definitely, that is my position. Now that they have given the 6 months and it is expired, I was expecting that if the court had not intervened, that was my letter to PRC, that on August 18, this guy should vacate office, and instead of just having the members of parliament, the whatever you can call it, a hybrid or whatever, can now have members of parliament, some members, the respected members, elders of the party, and even some representatives of this auxiliary, like Women's Congress, Young Generation, and Young Congress, and Veteran. You can have people from there, and we have key people who have sacrificed a lot, who served this government under Nesby Kroma, but today they are on the sideline watching things, and they have been intervening time and again. People like former Minister of Finance, Modu Kabo, former Ambassador Ibrahim Suri, a good number of them, they still want to, they are not interested in holding power to hold any position in party. So these are people I think they can entrust the party to, you know, and just because the National Executive renege in having and giving respect to the institution, but we have a Council of Elders. In this, before the expiry date in February, they should have met the Council of Elders, and if they had come, you know, to talk to the general membership on a very level platform, people would have understood. But they waited until they were taken to the PPRC.
But do you have reservations with regards to this present executive?
Absolutely.
Because they have been managing the affairs of
yes,
the
I don't have trust for the chairman. Yes, I don't have trust for him. He's polarized. He's come out to support a particular candidate, a flag bearer. So I cannot vouch for him at all. That, of course, when you be a chairman, you're a father. Like that's what we talk about PPRC. The PPRC like a parent to political parties. So they intervene time and again. Some of the rules, like a referee in a football match, some of the decisions may not be good for this team, might be applauded by the other team, you know. So that's why you should actually be seen to exhibit some amount of independence or neutrality.
So Eugene, let me bring you in.
Yes.
You've heard from what Honorable said. He said that some of these members of parliament, or let me say all of them are polarized. They take sides, and now he's now even pointing fingers as the national chairman that he's also polarized. He has taken side with one. So did the PPRC foresee these things coming, saying that these MPs will have been compromised before this time for you to say, okay, let's have some sort of arrangements that will, you know, if not all, but 90% of the membership will agree with it and say, okay, let's move on and get to next one delegate conference.
So what the said is it boils down to their internal arguments or their internal politics. So we as a regulative body, all what to do is to ensure that we unify political parties, and our decision does not border around the interest of certain individuals or certain groups. What we do is for the interest of the political party.
So I'm quite sure as PPRC you have been having complaints from members of this party.
Complaint in regards to, but again, certain, decisions of this nature, not everybody in the party will accept. It's normal. Not everybody in the party will accept. you must have concerns or objections to these decisions. But again, like I said, the decision is based on unifying, not just for the All People's Congress, but we apply the same principle or the same law to all 20 registered political parties. Of course, let me use also this opportunity to inform viewers that we now have 20 new registered political parties in the country. For the past month or two, we already issued out the registration certificate to 3 new political parties: the Humble Africans Development Political Party, the Liberation People's Political Party, and the Social Rescue Political Party. So we now have 3 new registered political parties in the country, some to 20 now registered political parties in the country. So all we have to do as a regulated body is to ensure that we unify political parties, and that can be seen in our track record in our work.
So in the interest of the parties
yes.
that you are working as a father, didn't you foresee some sort of polarization? Looking at
these arguments, they are normal in politics. Whatever decision you take, it's normal in politics. A side will say, okay, we will not agree. We will not agree with this decision. We do not trust. We do not trust. But again, even in unifying, then you can't get 100%, everybody on board to accept your decision. But again, at the end of the day, they accept. So if you look at in February, we should have these directives in February. Without any complaint or concern or any court action from any individual party until the tail end, because we were kind of surprised as a regulatory body, towards the tail end of the expiration of the 6 months, then there is a member from the All People's Congress to say, file a motion that we are not okay. We should not accept the second. But again, they are members of the party. But it's their right to go to court. If you feel aggrieved with the decision of the PPRC, you can go to court. Even though we are surprised with the motion from court, but again, it's their right as members of the political party, not just for the All People's Congress, but for all registered political party to go to court if you feel aggrieved with the decision of the PPRC. The PPRC foresee these are normal arguments in politics. These are the disagreements in politics. So you can't bank or hinge on disagreements in politics to decide or to see how you can unify the affairs of political parties. So whatever we do, like I said earlier, we operate within our mandate, and whatever decision we put out is from the law. We don't operate out of the law. We're not the wake one morning, I will wake and I saw the decision. No. All we have to do is within the law, and at the end of the day, is to promote internal democracies in political parties.
Okay, continue to stay with us on the program. Is Eugene Momo, the Senior Outreach Officer for PPRC, and earlier we had Honorable Sarah Jane Rollins Kamara. Putting out is that they wrote a letter to the PPRC with regards to extension the executive of the current APC. Well, we take a health tip of today and today we look at why your eyes might be red all the time. The key to relieving red eyes depends on what's causing them, and there is so much overlap among possible conditions that it's always a good idea to have an eye professional take a look. Let us watch and learn from our tip of today.
Watching this Goodmorning 7 live on the SRBC, I hope you've learned a lot from that video that talks about our eyes. Well, we go over to another issue that has to do with youth. The International Youth Diplomacy Conference 2026 is a major youth leadership and diplomacy gathering designed to bring together young people, policymakers, diplomats, activists, professionals, and stakeholders to discuss emerging global challenges and opportunities. The conference is hosted by Youth Stand for Human Rights Sierra Leone in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth Affairs Sierra Leone with the support of relevant partners. Theme: Youth at the Crossroads, navigating AI, social media, and global tourism as engines for sustainable livelihoods and innovation. The conference will provide a platform for young people to exchange ideas, develop leadership and diplomatic skills, promote human rights and peace, and explore practical opportunities for sustainable development and innovation. Well, in the studio, we have been joined by the National Public Relations Officer, Youth Staff for Human Rights, Leone, David Cole. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning,
Good morning, yes.
So, Mr. Cole, this International Youth Diplomacy Conference, what is this all about?
To start with, the Youth for Human Rights Australia is a youth organization in Australia that has been working on human rights issues across Australia. And the Youth Stand for Human Rights was found in 2020, February. And our vision is to see how best we promote human rights issues. And going further to the IYDC is always hosted by IFED in Ghana, and the theme of this year is tourism, culture, and media AI for youth in Australia. And heading further, the International Diplomacy Conference have been hosting for years now in Ghana. This is the very first time we are trying to bring in Australia. Different nations like Nigeria, Ghana, you name it, have been actually trying to see how best to push what we are trying to do here in Australia.
So what is this International Youth Diplomacy Conference all about?
The International Youth Diplomacy Conference is all about this United Nations. It's CRS, we bring up different youth from different countries to discuss on security issues, discuss on AI, discuss on problems that affect youth in different sectors.
So how will the youth in Sierra Leone benefit from this conference, especially from this theme that you chose for this year's event?
The youth of Australia will benefit greatly by learning, by networking with other youth coming from different countries. By so doing, I think they will benefit a lot by sharing their own ideas with other youth.
So you stated this is the first time Sierra Leone is hosting it. I'm quite sure you have been part of the previous conferences. How impactful has it been for, because you are youth in Sierra Leone and you go into this conference, I'm quite sure you learned a lot that you can bring to the country as a whole. How impactful has it been for our youth in the country?
As for me, I attended this international diplomacy conference in 2020. It was actually a great opportunity for me as a youth from Australia, sponsored by the Ministry of Youth and some funded NGOs. It was a little bit challenging for me as a youth, for me to attend such conference. For us to bring this opportunity to Australian youth, it's a very good idea, and I believe that it will help them greatly to learn and share more knowledge on youth issues and security issues like AI, terrorism, and other stuff.
So taking a cue from what my colleague just said, you have been attending these conferences. Once seated out there, that youth man currently watching you, he or she might want to know some of the pointers or things or the people that have participated before. What are some of those real life stories that you can tell someone that, okay, because of this conference that we went to, so we were able to do this? Because people are looking at all of these conferences as just normal talk show where nothing is being done at the end of the day.
So, and this conference is not all about talk show. We have things that we we practically do it on the ground, and whenever I attend from Australia, visit to Ghana or attend this conference, when I come back to Australia, see how best they work on things like see how best they work on issues on youth, to see how best they give back to society. And we have a lot of potential while attending this conference. We have the likes of Simon Wise, we have a lot of names, and if you look at them based on what they have taught them in Ghana, you see that the impact they have been playing in our society, Australia.
So So you spoke about when you go to these conferences, some of the things you learned, you bring it so that the youth in this country will benefit. Would you mind taking us some of these things that you learned from these conferences that has influenced the life of young people in the country?
Yes, one is to see how best we advocate for human rights issues. Secondly, to see how best we advocate for education. Thirdly, is to see how best we advocate for giving platform to all youth in different sectors, being educated or not. So these are the kind of opportunities that have been given to us to see how best we advocate for others.
So for this year's conference, what are the sets of young people that will be part of these conferences? Because many times when such conferences are being organized in the country, other young people might say, oh, it's only the ones that are educated that can be part of this conference. Because hearing from the thing, it has to do with diplomacy and all.
Yeah.
So what are the set of young people that can be part of this conference?
For this year conference, we are having a skill. That is why we are giving them a platform to see how best for those who do not go to school, to see how best they can showcase their skills. They like for the last day, that year of this month, we'll be having that showcase platform for those who have skill to see how best we display their talent. For them not to feel left out.
So give us a picture of how the conference, because you stated that you create a platform for even those that are not educated to be part. How about the others? Give us a picture of how the conference will look like.
Well, the conference will start on the 27th. 27th will be the arrival of international delegates from different countries. The 28th will be the opening session of the conference. Then we have the United Nations discussion panel, which will be see how best we discuss the issue. Then the fourth day we'll be having this skill training for those who have this basic knowledge but not go to school, but have this skill for them to see how to train others, impart knowledge in them. And this will create opportunities to see how best we work on that trade platform for others as well.
So how can, if someone wants to be part of this conference, how can you be part of it?
And they go to the IFED program, Google to IFED program. And for now we are having over 1,000 applicants on the website, more than 1,000. Swelling names. Yeah, international delegates over 800.
So how many youths are you catering for?
For now, and just few, because for us swelling names, these are some of the opportunities I think government or donor partner should be supporting, because for most of them are students, they'll be able to pay, because it's a paid conference, it's 1,000 euros, and it's a little bit difficult for someone who's attending or going to university to see how best they pay for this conference. So for now we are having not that much number.
So you said you have something like 1,000 applicants.
Yeah.
During application, is that the time someone pays?
Yeah. During the application, there is a space where you do your payments. But if you don't want, you just have the application, then you don't pay. Some people apply, then they will not pay at the end of the day.
So what should Serenians expect at the end of the day when you must have ended this conference?
I think they should expect great things coming from those who will be attending this conference.
Okay, so thank you very much. He is David Cole, the National Public Relations Officer for Youth Stand for Human Rights, who has been talking about their upcoming International Youth Diplomacy Conference 2036 that will be held in Sierra Leone. Well, we still have with us Sirajin Willis Kama, Honorable, and Eugene Momo from the PPRC. Honorable, in this your letter, you made mention of the Council of Elders and other party structures, but especially the Council of Elders. You said the PPRC did not, or the structures within the parties were not well exhausted before the PPRC making such an arrangement. When you talk about this, what do you really mean by this?
Well, if what I meant is that if they had reached out, maybe this suggestion would have come up instead of just giving the extension, and the same thing would have also led them to not just taking the members of parliament as the custodians of the party.
But you should said consultations were done.
Well,
Said it here.
then that's what he said. I cannot. But again, we also whom did they consult? But definitely, if you ask the Council of Elders, the structures in the party, which I don't, maybe they've not reached that point. They used president before, something like that. But I was expecting that if this institution, this units were asked, they would have preferred that than just to have members of parliament take over. Again, please be mindful that throughout my letter, I mentioned about the work the people have been doing. It's been very tough on them. So that's what I, but again, maybe that's where I think they go.
So, Honorable, what's the role of the Council of Elders in the APC? Because I'm asking this question because whenever the APC has issue, always they take it to the PPRC. So I'm asking this, what is really the role of the Council of Elders?
This is a lesson, before I tell you about the role, this is a lesson wherein you don't set up units or auxiliaries or institutions and you don't keep them independent. We have the Council of Elders for such matters. We have even the conflict or aggrieved complaints committee headed by Nanette. But I'll tell you, sometimes maybe over the 100 cases that have gone to the PPRC, none reached her. So again, you can't set up units and you don't respect those units. So that's all the problem we have with the National Executive. They overshadow everywhere without allowing. So the National and the Council of Elders will have been, they are charged with such responsibility to make sure that internal intra-party rancor are settled amicably, like what we say in local parlance, wash your dirty linens, don't wash your dirty linens in public. So that's the purpose, but they have also been marginalized. They've been slighted without being consulted by the National Executive. For me, like vying for this national deputy chairman position, if such cases will have come, I would first call the Council of Elders. Imagine what elders, it's not just about their age, it's about their service to the nation. They are full of wisdom. So we should have tapped from them and say, what's the way out of this? And so, but again, when you have a father who also has the time to give answer, that's why people rush to the PPRC. So what I think in the future we'd like to see where we have our institutions being respected, like what we have now. We see the National Secretary General issuing a release for people vying for position, for district position to go and pay. That's not their job. That's not the work of the National Executive. It's the Independent Election Management Committee that has been charged with that. So it comes back to having a discredited National Executive that want to step in everywhere. That's why people go to the PPRC.
Okay, let me bring in Eugene. Eugene, you've heard from what Honorable said. I asked him, because he mentioned in his letter saying that all of the party structures were not exhausted before taking the matter to you. And earlier you said that you did consultation. So is it that when you do make this, when you do give directives, you don't look at the constitution of the APC to look at the structures that should be exhausted before reaching certain matters to you?
Well, in consultation or in engagement, we can't engage all the members of the APC, so what I think is the problem here, maybe I stand to be corrected, is the relationship between Honorable Sirajin and the leadership of the party. So in our engagement or in our consultations, in most cases, not just in relation to these directives, we don't engage with the leadership of political parties. They are the representative of their members. So if we engage them, I think we've engaged the membership of the People's Congress, because we don't have that capacity to encourage, to have all members of the APC political party, to have discussion with them. So we always meet with the leadership of the party. Even though, like I said earlier, we have the law, we use the law. It doesn't mean that we have to consult. But again, as a regulator, like we say, as daddy, we always engage, we always inform them when it comes to decisions that has to do with their welfare. So in that decision we took, it's all part of the law, and it's all part of our engagement. So for the Honorable, he said okay, we should have used the interim body
Yeah.
to form party. But again, Section 39(5) of the PPIC Act addressed the issue of expired tenure of members of political parties.
He's
You see?
suggesting an interim board or transition team rather than the extension.
So, but again, the Act addressed the matter. So after the directive that talks about the extension of the party, then the leadership of the party in parliament comes in. But I think the whole problem is about relationship. It's all about relationship and trust. But again, what we do at PPIC is not about the interest of members of certain individuals in political parties, but for the party. Mind you, these political parties belong to the ordinary member of the party. They are the driving force of these political parties. So whatever decision we took or whatever that has to do with their welfare, we first consider the ordinary members of these political parties before giving out directives or rulings. So we can't just bend on whether an individual is happy or is not happy with the outcome. But again, in most cases, some decisions they will be happy, while some they will totally disagree. It's all about interest.
So
But again, we as a regulator, we have a steady head. You know, we don't moved by certain innuendos or certain comments from members of political parties. We have a steady head, and we always ensure that the interest of the party comes first.
So
not the individual.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've been reaching to something. Section 39(5) and made provision for them to grant an extension. We're also asking what provision then they have to ask the parliament to continue from there, you know. But again, I don't think Ms. Sirajin, maybe yes, I don't think I have problem with individual, but rather I have problem with the way they administer the party, you know. So I think we have to make that clear, you know. I critique myself most times even.
So the spirit behind this decision is to unify the party.
I know, definitely.
That's the spirit of
but
this.
again,
directives.
we have to do it holistic in the dispensing your
we don't give out these directives or rulings in isolation.
No,
We don't give them in isolation. Even when it comes to the issue of petitions or objections.
If you do hear dissenting voices, I think it's time to go back to the drawing board. Only that at this stage you cannot, because your files have been stopped by the High Court, and you cannot any longer function the way you should. I would have asked you, now knowing that this circumstance has coming up, would you like to revisit? Even the SUMA that took you people to court also said that they agreed on the first, they don't agree on the second, which I also want the second aspect to be modified, but now it is out of your hands because the High Court is sitting on that. And so I just say that in the future, maybe such things, when the dissenting voices represent the ordinary people. I don't call them grassroots, because you trample with grass and which you cut them up. I don't want to use that word to them, but they are ordinary people who own the party, and therefore they are fully respected. You definitely, I don't expect you to go everywhere to ask for.
So what you suggest is we should not be working with the leadership, with the party.
But I told you that in dispensing that ruling that we have.
But they already have representatives in their leadership of the party.
No, that's not enough, please.
Okay, look, let's hold it there for now and go over to another segment, which is the review of the headlines of our local tabloids. Viewers, I start the ball rolling with the Africa 24 newspaper that says rice shoppers sell 25 kg rice at 360 million. Thibaut Adimakoni head to Supreme Court. Constitutional amendment bill was properly passed, says Honorable Indo Kibao. This story is possible to find in the Africa 24.
The exclusive newspaper's banner headline says APC at crossroads, court actions, constitution and test of leadership. Constitutional amendment bill was properly passed, says Honorable Indo Kibao. These stories and also others are found on the front page of the exclusive newspaper.
The next one I have here is the A to Z newspaper that says constitutional amendment bill properly passed. Honorable Givao says China and UN deepen cooperation on Sierra Leone's development. PAN launches 2026 leadership and public speaking masterclass. This story is more you find it in the A to Z newspaper.
Our core newspaper banner headline says APC opens nominations for district executive positions. membership drive underway. Sierra Leone launches gender accountability framework to track women's empowerment gains. APC members seek High Court intervention over ward elections into Okolidi constituency 054. But the stories and also others are found in our own newspaper.
And the final one I have here is the Leone newspaper that says Speaker Thomas and others committed treason. This story is what's more you find in the Leone newspaper.
And my final pick is the Independent Observer newspaper, and its banner headline states, "Who owns the Constitution?" It's a question. And lawyer challenges Speaker on constitutional amendment bill. The stories and also others are found in the front page of the Independent Observer newspaper. But viewers must know that these headlines laid out does not reflect the views of the SLBC, but we are merely reviewing them. Well, we still have the National Public Relations Officer for Youth Stand for Human Rights, Sierra Leone, David Cole. Now, David, let us bring you in again. So far, is this particular conference going to be streamed online for those that will not be in the hall, or is there a feedback mechanism that you put out for these young people who might have wanted to be part of the conference but don't have the necessary funds to be part of it?
Yes, we definitely created a platform where you can, for some international delegates who will actually have the opportunity to, contribute through their Zoom or Google.
So, David, what would be your final message to viewers out there, because time is no longer free?
And first of all, I just want to thank SLBC for hosting us on this platform and decide some of the opportunities we as youth we are looking up to see how we should have more voice of young people to be heard out there. And this one will be a very nice one, this conference, and we are calling on all youth who have registered but not yet paid to see how best pay their registration fees to see how best they will not feel left out.
So, Eugene, in 30 seconds,
Yes.
how would you assure members of the public that most of the decisions made by the PPRC are within the confines of the law?
We don't operate outside the law. I mean, we have our mandate in Section 12 of the PPRC Act.
But there are allegations that
It's normal. It's normal with these decisions. I mean, it's normal. I mean, not everybody will be okay with these decisions, but we don't operate outside the law. And I just want to assure the membership and supporters of People's Congress that they should wait until the decision of the court. They should be patient and wait until the decision of the court before ever the PPRC can give a further directives in relation to the second lead of the February directive we gave out to the party.
Honorable, would you say you've gotten the necessary clarification to what?
Well, I've engaged with him severally and definitely, but of course the concerns remain the same. For me now, what stands out is the aspect of the High Court, kind of like setting them aside, where they have a status of High Court. So I was referring the High Court to say, okay, Suma, this matter is with PPRC, let them continue that. But to set aside the PPRC, it brings about fear in us that maybe in the future I would think if PPRC will be overruled by the High Court, why can't I just go to the High Court? But it's a decision that I respect, and I will still have to keep on knocking at their doors. As we say in like a football match, the referee decision will not be wholesomely accepted by both parties. Some will be happy, some will be crying. So I think the situation with the PPRC, in this case, I laughed just over the Samsumana. Now maybe now I'm crying over the extension of it.
So you agree with me now.
So in 30 seconds, I just want to make some clarification. This person is of yours.
Yes.
Is it technically say that you've extended the APC?
No. We do not extend the term of the APC. What we stated in the press release is the situation at the moment. The situation at the moment, the matter is in court, and we can't give any further directive in relation to
I've laughed, I've cried, the next one we both laugh. That aspect of the MPs where
Okay, thank you very much. It has been an interesting conversation this morning on broadcasting. As that's how draw the cartoons of Goodmorning, Sierra Leone. I came to you from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Many thanks to our producer, Daphne, and I'm coming also to the entire production crew. Well, quickly take our quote of the day. It's from German philosopher Mr. Eckhart, and it says, "The price of action is far greater than the cost of making a mistake." Good morning, Sierra Leone. In terms tomorrow, I am Esther Sako.
And I am Emmanuel Samba. Goodbye and stay put on your service.
As a mother of the house, whenever I want to prepare palm soup, there's no need pounding palm fruit. All I need is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. My soup is done, and its preparation, it is not difficult at all. Nkulenu palm soup base, it's easily done with no difficulties. Just take few ladles and your soup is done. And its flavor, it's amazing. This is Nkulenu's Ghana's original palm soup base. And this is Nkulenu's Ghana's original spiced palm soup base. Iron fruit and turkey berries are naturally added.
Also available Brown Gold Natural Cocoa Powder, Sunny Gold Brown Sugar, Neat Fufu Flour, Shito, Pisa, and Moringa. All available at Nyami Ado Enterprise, 1 Lower Waterloo Street, Freetown.
Nkulenu palm soup base.
Ghanaian original taste.